Hi guys, it's Jess and welcome back to my channel. I am very aware that I look like crap right now. This is a very spontaneous video and it wasn't a video that I had planned at any point. It wasn't in my schedule, but I have had a very stressful 2 weeks. There's been a lot going on and I have been watching a lot of BookTube to cope with that, and a lot of people have been coming out with their spring TBRs, and it never really occurred to me to do a spring TBR, and I am finding it very difficult to talk right now. So if I get my words mixed up at any point during this video, I'm sorry. I am a mess. So I thought I would have a go at showing you some of the books that I would like to read this spring/summer, because I'm not really a massive seasonal reader. I am during the autumn time because that's when I like to get out all of the spooky and atmospheric books, but I generally just kind of read whatever I want to read, you know, whenever. I don't really base my reading plans off the sunshine or whatever, and yeah, I don't know, I haven't planned this video, so I don't really know what I'm gonna say, so I'm sorry. But yeah, I thought it would just be interesting to show you some of my reading plans for the next 6 months, and there are a lot, and it was very hard to narrow it down. I could have just shown you all of the books that I have on my TBR shelves, but we would be here forever and I don't want to keep you all day. I know you've got some more important things to be doing. So I've just done it by genres, and I've picked 2 or 3 books from each genre that I want to read, and it's a bit of a mix really. We've got a bit of thrillers, we've got a bit of non-fiction, we've got a bit of fantasy, a bit of contemporary, we've got some old books, some new books. Yeah, so we're just gonna get into the video before I lose my train of thought and just start talking in incoherent sentences. So we're going to start with some books that I really need to prioritise, because I've had these books for a long time, and also because I have been saying for ages that I'm going to read them. I think in my New Year's book tag video I said that I was going to read these books in January, and I just haven't because I'm terrible. But it's these 4 here. The first one that we have is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. So I have seen this book floating around online for quite some time, and everyone who I've seen has read it has had a lot of really good things to say about it. And I know that it's a murder mystery centred around these young men who are performing a Shakespeare play, and one of the men end up dead during the performance, and it's all about just trying to find out who killed that person. It sounds really interesting. This is the newest book of the 4. I've had this one for about a year. My boyfriend bought it for me for Christmas 2019, I think. And yeah, I'm ashamed that I haven't got to it yet. It definitely sounds like something I would enjoy. Then we have Dark Places and Sharp Objects, both by Gillian Flynn. So these books I've had for an age. I bought them secondhand years ago, and I just haven't got to them yet, and I'm really embarrassed because there have been so many occasions on this channel where I have said that I'm going to read these and then it just never happened. So I definitely want to prioritise these. I feel like I will enjoy them, given that Gone Girl is one of my favourite thrillers, but I haven't really seen a lot of these online. I've heard more about this one than I have Dark Places, and I think this is like a Netflix show now, or a show on Amazon or something, which I haven't seen, but both sound really interesting. And then we've got The Dead Wife by Sue Fulton, And this is a book that I've had for almost 2 years as well. And this is a thriller, and it's just like about some rich guy's wife who ends up dead, and there's an investigation. Like, what else do you need to know? Alright, so those are the 4 books that I need to prioritise because, as I said, I've been saying that I will, and I just haven't. We're going to move on to the rest of the books that are just a mix of everything. So we'll start with the thrillers that I want to read. So we've got The Holiday by T.M. Logan, and judging by the title, I feel like this is just gonna make me feel summery, and I haven't been on holiday in such a long time, so I just want to feel transported to somewhere else and just experience a different part of the world. But I've heard really positive things about The Holiday, and I know that it's about these 3 families who will go on holiday together, and one of the husbands ends up having an affair with someone else's wife, and then someone ends up dead, and it's like trying to find out who killed that person, pretty much the same as the other books that I talked about, and that's all I really know about it. I bought this at the start of the first lockdown, which was a year ago now. How insane is that? And my plan was to read it last year, and like, let's not even talk about last year. During summer, like, I didn't read anything, so definitely want to read this one. And then we have The Travellers by Chris Pavone, and this is a thriller that I have never heard of. I got this in a subscription box last year, and it's kind of like, it has like spy espionage vibes, but I don't think it is a spy story, but it's just about this guy who's like on vacation or on a work trip or something in Argentina, and he ends up getting thrust into like this world of government conspiracies and stuff, which kind of takes him all over the globe, and that just sounds really cool. Again, even though it's not about holiday, I think it's just going to give me holiday vibes because we're going to be exploring different countries, hopefully. It just sounds really good. Got some non-fiction now, and one of the first ones is More Moaning, The Enlightened One Returns by Cole Pilkington. This is actually going to be a reread for me. I have read this book before, and this one is all about travel. If you don't know who Cole Pilkington is, he is a very funny guy who was in a show called An Idiot Abroad, which was created by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. Now, I don't particularly like those 2 people, but I really like Cole Pilkington because he is someone who was never really interested in travel. He was quite happy doing his own thing and staying in the UK, but they kind of forced him to go to different parts of the world like Egypt and India, and it was just great, like, hearing his comments about stuff, and he really sees things in a different way. This book is absolutely hilarious. I laughed out loud when I first read it, and so I need something that's going to be light-hearted and funny and just kind of sate my appetite for travel and exploring the world, and just finding out about different cultures, and hearing somebody's very different take on it, because we always, whenever we watch like travel documentaries and things, like, the presenters always make it sound amazing, and I'm sure it is, obviously, like, normally it is, but this guy, he doesn't always see it that way, and I love that. So I'm very interested in reading this one again. I'm really, really feeling it right now. And then another non-fiction that we have is Tim Peake Limitless. So this is Tim Peake's autobiography. I have read one of Tim Peake's other books, which is called Ask an Astronaut, and that was where he answered people's questions about his time on the International Space Station. If you don't know who Tim Peake is, he is a very well-known British astronaut, cosmonaut. I think it's cosmonaut because he travelled with the European Space Agency back in 2015. It was a very big thing over here. We were all absolutely glued to our TV screens. And I've been following his journey ever since, and I find him absolutely fascinating. Like, I find space in general fascinating, but this is just all about his life, about what he did before he was in space, what he did when he was in space, what he's doing now, and I've been anticipating this book for ages, and I'm just very, very excited. We've got some contemporaries, and we've got The Humans by Matt Haig, which is going to be another reread for me. This is one of my all-time favourite books, and it is one of my favourite, actually it is my favourite book by Matt Haig, and this book is just hilarious. It's all about an alien who gets sent to Earth, and he has to try and stop the humans from finding this like mathematical equation that could advance humanity, and end up being a danger to the rest of the universe. But the catch is that he ends up in the body of the university professor who has found this equation. And it's all about him just trying to like navigate life on Earth and blend in without being discovered. And it was just great, like, seeing his reactions to human beings, and the way we do things is ridiculous sometimes. And it definitely made me think about us as a species in a very different way. And then we have Hold by Michael Donker, and I honestly don't really know what this book is about, and the synopsis is very long, but it follows like 4 young women. Some of them live in the UK and some of them live in Ghana in Africa, and their lives kind of intertwine, and they find out about family secrets and things like that. I've only seen this book on BookTube once, and that was actually very recently. So if you've read this, please let me know, because it's not one that I was aware of until I actually received it in a subscription box. But I want to give it a go. I want to be reading more things that are out of my comfort zone a little bit, and about different people's perspectives. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about this one. I don't really know if I will enjoy it or not, but we're going to find out anyway. We've got some historical fiction now, and one of the books that I really, really want to read is West with Giraffes. This was a very impulsive buy for me. When I bought it, I didn't know anything about it. I just bought it because I love giraffes. They're my favourite animals, so anything to do with giraffes I have to have. And looking into it now though, it seems like a really beautiful story, and it's about this man who is 105 years old, and he's talking about his time during the Great Depression in 1938 in America, and how he came across these 2 giraffes who had survived a hurricane in the Atlantic, and they were travelling to America. And it's based on a true story, which I've looked into a little bit, and it just sounds like it's going to be a lovely story to read. Hopefully it will make me emotional, because I don't really get emotional with books a lot, and I'm trying to find that book that will pull up my heartstrings a little bit, so hopefully this one will do that. Anything involving animals normally does, so I'm looking forward to this one. I don't know anyone who's read it, so again, if you've read it, please let me know. And then another historical fiction is The Lady of the Rivers by Philippa Gregory. So this is the first book in the White Queen series, I think. I read The White Queen years and years ago, and there was a whole BBC show on TV about these books, based off these books, sorry, and I really enjoyed it. I have read some of Philippa Gregory's other stuff as well, but I really just want to like get back into historical fiction, especially this kind of stuff that are based off like real historical figures. And I know these books in this series are based off the Wars of the Roses, so House York and House Lancaster. And you've got like Henry Tudor and Richard III and all of those kings. But yeah, this is the first book, so it's all about Jacquetta, who has always had the gift of second sight. As a child visiting her uncle, she meets his prisoner Joan of Arc and sees her own power reflected in the young woman accused of witchcraft. Married to the Duke of Bedford, English regent of France, Jacquetta is introduced by him to a mysterious world of learning and alchemy. Her only friend is the great household is the Duke's squire, Richard Woodville, who is at her side when the Duke's death leaves her a wealthy young widow. The Woodvilles soon achieve a place at the very heart of the Lancaster court, although Jacquetta can sense the growing threat from the people of England and the danger of royal rivals. So this is kind of like the start of the Wars of the Roses, and I'm not going to read anymore because I'm going to get very tongue-tied because I can't talk today. I don't know what it is about historical fiction, but it always gives me summer vibes. I always tend to read these kind of books during spring and summer, so I have quite a few of these kind of books on my shelf, so hopefully I can get a couple of them bashed out very soon. I've also had this book for a very long time as well. We've got some young adult books, and we've got Birthday by Meredith Russo, which I am planning to read in April. This is one of my 5-star predictions for the first third of 2021, and this just follows 2 teenagers who have the same birthday, and we're just following them on the birthday every year, and just seeing how their relationship with each other develops and changes over time. And one of the characters in this book is also transgender, which is something that I haven't read before, so it'll be very interesting to read about that and get some kind of perspective on it at least. And then we have These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a book that I have been anticipating forever. Everyone is reading it right now and I have massive FOMO because I just want to get to it, but I'm kind of holding off a little bit because I didn't include this in my last 5-star predictions video, so I want to include it in my next one, which will be up in May. So we'll see when I get to it, but it will be soon. And as far as I know, this is kind of like a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920s Shanghai. So I'm not a huge fan of Shakespeare. I don't really kind of read a lot of Shakespearean retellings, and I don't really read a lot of retellings in general. It's not really my thing. However, the 1920s aspect and the Shanghai aspect really sold me. And then adding to the fact that there's big like fantasy monsters in this book, you've got me. I love it already. So I've heard so many amazing things about this book. I have to get to it very soon. Yeah, like what else do I need to say about it? I'm just fucking excited. So we've got 4 more books to go, guys. So we're very nearly at the end. We've got some fantasy now, and one of them is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I also have The Well of Ascension as well. I have been putting off reading Brandon Sanderson forever because his books are just massive. They're really intimidating, but I think it's time. I'm ready to delve into this world and see what it's all about. I think it's set in a world where like evil is kind of ruling it, and it's up to these characters to kind of overthrow that evil entity or something. I haven't really, like, I have read the synopsis, but it's very hard to kind of narrow it down. And every time I read it, I'm still like, I don't fucking know what this is about. But yeah, I'm only gonna know if I read it. So I don't know when I'm going to get to this, but I don't even know how long it's going to take me because it is a massive book. But I'm intrigued to see how I feel about this. I haven't read any epic fantasy, any high fantasy in such a long time. and I am kind of nervous. So, because of that, I might break myself in with a Game of Thrones. I've read this book before. A Song of Ice and Fire is one of my favourite fantasy series, probably my all-time favourite fantasy series. And I am really feeling getting back into these books. I really want to immerse myself in the world again. I know a lot of people have written off Game of Thrones because of the way the show ended, and I totally get that. I didn't really like the ending either, but I really enjoyed the books the first time I read them. And I just want to go back to that. I just want to go back to that world. So in order to prepare myself for Brandon Sanderson, I might just break myself in and reread A Game of Thrones, because I do like high fantasy, but I do struggle with it sometimes because it can be very dense, information heavy, and just have a lot going on. But I know that I'm going to enjoy this, so I'll probably read this first and then get into the Brandon Sanderson stuff. Alright, and the last two books that are on this list are horror books. So the first one that we have is The Deep by Nick Cutter, and I'm very excited for this because I loved The Troop last year, even though that book absolutely grossed me out and it was very difficult to read. I was very impressed by the writing and the story and the way it made me feel. It definitely made me feel the way a horror should make you feel. So I just want to read more of his work, and The Deep sounds really good. Again, it's kind of like focused on a plague, but this plague is called the Gets. And it kind of like makes you forget how to live eventually. So at first you kind of like forget certain words and things, and then you forget how to drink and eat until it gets to the point where your body just forgets to function at all, which sounds absolutely terrifying. It sounds like a more drastic take on Alzheimer's. And then there's this guy who's like deep down at the bottom of the ocean who is trying to like figure out a cure or something for this disease, because there is no cure at the moment. And yeah, like it just sounds really creepy, and I think I'm gonna love it. And then the last book is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I don't really know what this is about and I'm gonna keep it that way, but I have heard that this book is amazing and will creep you out. I've only ever read one Stephen King novel in my life, which was Business Mercedes last year, and I want to kind of make it a thing to read at least 3 Stephen King books this year. So we're going to go with Pet Sematary because this is the one that I'm kind of feeling the most. I do have Misery as well. This is also one of my 5-star predictions for the first third of 2021. So I will be reading this in April, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting back into the horror genre actually. I really enjoyed all of the horror stuff that I read last year, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out what my limit on horror is, and so far The Troop probably got pretty close. But I know that Stephen King is very fucking weird, and he's just crazy, and yeah. We'll see how we get on with this one. But alright guys, they're all the books that I am planning to read in spring and summer of 2021. I'm going to wrap this video up now because I am slowly forgetting how to talk. Please let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I always love to hear your feedback. Please leave a cheeky thumbs up if you liked this video, and please subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos from me in the future. And I will see you all in another video very soon. Bye guys.